All right, welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us through that break. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV Television and Radio, and this is the final segment of the program. So in this final segment, the third time it's happened now that the main opposition, All People's Congress, APC, abstain from a process of approval of Commissioner of NEC. Now, the latest is the approval of Abubakar Mahmoud Koroma as the Electoral Commissioner for Northern Region. This has sparked the debate on the credibility of NEC ahead of the 2023 general elections by some MPs. So this morning, to discuss this issue, we have Honorable Indolo Moiwo Givao from the SLPP. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
We have Honorable Abdul Kagbo from the APC. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
And in Studio 2, we have Melvin Tijan Mansari, a senior parliamentary correspondent. Good morning, Melvin. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, viewers and followers.
All right. Let's set the pace. We'll start off with you there, Melvin. You're a senior correspondent in Parliament, and the abstinence of the APC party in participating in the process of approval for commissioners for NEC has been repetitive. What can you say on this matter, especially in Parliament?
Well, thank you very much. I think it's owing to several facts. One has to do with ambiguity in the interpretation of section number 32, subsection 3, that says in the appointment of electoral commissioners, the president must consult the leaders of political parties. However, that aspect of what actually is consultation has been the stalemate, and most always often the case that fights and rancor will emerge. If you look at section 171, I think 13, it clearly states what consultation is. And if you permit me, I'll read, but I'll summarize if you ask me. It says that consultation is not like compulsory, basically. You can consult, but the authority on either side is not compelling, meaning that you can just consult, and that's it. And so many arguments have emerged as to when, how, why those consultations should take place. So what we saw, like you said, is a repetition, but it speaks to the broader fact that nuanced issue of political cohesion, inclusivity, dialogue, and cross-party cooperation is still a strong issue between the executive and the legislature, and much work needs to be done.
Thank you, Melvin. I'll take the conversation now to the APC MP. Walking out of Parliament, this is about the third time it's happened, and abstaining from the process in itself. Why?
Of course, I'm happy that you're saying it is the fourth time it's happening. Now, the process does not only begin in Parliament. The process begins from the Committee on Appointment, and the Committee on Appointment is supposed to, interview and vet the nominee, and they would write their recommendations and bring it up to the plenary where we debate it and see whether the whole House will approve or not. The opposition abstain from participating in the Committee on Appointment, not on the basis of the qualification of the nominee, but on the basis of the fact that subsection 3 of section 32, which says, let me read it, the members of the Electoral Commission shall be appointed by the President after consultation with the leaders of all registered political parties and subject to the approval of Parliament. So there are three things in that single clause, yeah? The first thing is appointment by the President after consultation and approved by Parliament. So it shows that consultation precedes the appointment that is made by the President, yeah? And it is the appointment is followed by parliamentary approval. Let me bring this to perspective. Why do you think the President needs to consult before he makes the appointment? the commissioner would be deciding on an election in which the president himself will be contesting. You understand? So the president should consult with political parties before he makes the appointment. You see? And
is it that you also question the credibility and credential of the appointee in this case?
I have said we haven't got any issue with his qualification. In fact, to us, we are suspicious that the process of consultation is circumvented. Yeah? But let me go further. The framers of this constitution are very deliberate. Yeah? Let me tell you, they have imposed varying levels of constraint, even though the president has the right to appoint, but there are varying level of constraint. Why are those levels imposed? Firstly, because of democratic considerations, because of governmental considerations, because of prudential considerations, you see, and because of historic considerations. So firstly, you consult, and secondly, it is subjected to parliamentary approval. Now, let me tell you, why do you need to consult? The president may choose. No president wants to lose election. Every president wants the best person, best relative, to be serving as commissioner. You know, so at the end of the day, he sees it very easy to win election. So the first thing is that before you appoint, consult with leaders of political parties. There was an instance in the days of the late President Kaba when he chose Aka to serve as commissioner. He consulted, before he chose him, he consulted with political parties, you know, and political parties told him that Aka is a party member. It was proven beyond all reasonable doubt. So Chijan Kaba was left with no alternative but to replace him based on the consultation. So if there was no consultation, the appointment was just made like that, there was no need for him to have been replaced. And when president makes his appointment, it's very difficult to reverse. So that is why the constitution is emphatic that the appointment should be made after consultation. And let me tell you, when Commissioner Edmund Adfa was to be approved by Parliament, by then we were meeting at Bank Complex because Parliament was under renovation. We refused to approve him, contingent on the fact that there was no consultation. And what did the president do? The president invited, he went to Parliament for his approval. He took all his family with the opinion that he was going to be approved. Parliament did not approve him because we said subsection 3 of section 32 must be respected. So what did Parliament do? Parliament summoned all political party leaders. President summoned all political party leaders to State House. He consulted with them. And after which, we were called by our party leaders that no consultation has now been made. Even though we rejected approving him in the first instance, we simply approved him in the second instance after the consultations were made. And also, he's not the only one. Even the commissioner for the East, Madam Modre, consultations were made. You know, political party leaders were invited to State House. And President informed them that this is my intention and this is the person I wish to appoint for that position. So the approval were very simple, smooth and easy. But when, with all those experience, nobody will tell me that they don't know the meaning of consultation. You know, but when consultation is circumvented, they will become suspicious.
We should bring this over to you, Honorable Duval. This situation or the issue of consultation coming up for the third time, and NEC is a very sensitive institution because if we fail to do the right homework before elections, these could also lead to election and post-election issues where there could be concerns challenging certain results from certain areas because of individuals put in certain offices. And this is not the first time this issue is coming up. You are an MP in Parliament representing the SLPP, well, representing your constituency, but under the ticket of the SLPP. As an MP yourself, are you concerned about these things, and how are you raising this up with the leadership of the SLPP?
Thank you. I'm concerned. I'm concerned from the point of view that the opposition is actually making hue and cry over nothing. They are preparing the grounds to cast aspersions on an election that is going to be conducted in 2023, because, to my view, they already have this apprehension that they might lose.
So there are no justifiable and valid
Yes.
concerns?
Let me learn. And I mean, when you really do a comparative analysis, that is what Donald Trump did in America. When he knew he was going to lose elections, even before the election, he started castigating the opposition to say they want to rig. Now, in this case, and in all other cases, the ruling government has always maintained that there had been sufficient consultation, and that has been the case. It was the case in the issue of Madam Zainab. It is the case in this current approval that we did yesterday. There was sufficient consultation. All other political parties acknowledge the fact that the president did consult them, but the APC. Yes. Now, when we acknowledge the fact that our constitution is ambiguous, we have said time and time again, for us Sierra Leoneans to surmount that hurdle, we need to approach the only institution charged with the responsibility of interpreting it to lay the issue to rest. Time and time again, they say consultation was not done, consultation was not done. Whatever approach the government, the president uses to consult them, they say, oh, it was not sufficient consultation. The question is, why is it that they have not gone to the Supreme Court, for the Supreme Court to lay bare the methodology to be used in consulting other political party members? What has come clear is the fact that the president is somebody that is highly concerned about adherence to constitutional provisions. If we go into the event as to how this appointment and approval was done, you will come to realize that what they are holding on is a very, very tenuous point.
And what is that?
Now, he will not deny the fact that letters were written to all political parties on the 10th of March. Letters were written telling these political parties that it is the intention of the president to appoint this particular person as commissioner of the Electoral Commission. The appointment itself was done on the 14th. All other political parties acknowledge the fact that those letters got to them. The letters were sent via PPRC. All other parties acknowledge that they received it. APC is saying they merely received it a day before the approval. That was the same situation in the approval of Zainab. So what one really needs to ask here is the process, the methodology. Whatever methodology is used by the government, they complain.
So I want to ask, I listened to the Deputy Speaker yesterday, and he mentioned just what he said about clarification on what consultation means in this sense. And that has been the argument. Even when the SLPP were in opposition, we all can recall how the SLPP challenged certain, appointments of NEC commissioners about consultation, how they were not called to a meeting to be consulted. You're a lawyer, a very senior lawyer. In this sense, what does consultation mean? Does it mean just sending a letter notifying, or it means, like he mentioned, that their leaders were called by the president and they had a meeting and they told them that they've consulted them, they can go ahead and approve?
Consultation, as you rightly mentioned, could mean me writing a letter and expressing my intention of doing something. It's sending an email.
Isn't that notification or consultation?
It's consultation.
Okay.
It's like you seated here, you have a medical doctor in America, you take your phone, hey medical doctor, my head is aching. What do? The medical doctor says, okay, drink plenty of water and go to rest. You've consulted him. I mean, it's ambiguous. The methodology of doing this is what we are all struggling about. And the only way to get it is, if this constitution had laid it bare, that consultation means calling people to sit around a table physically and telling them your intention of appointing an electoral commissioner.
But that is what you've been calling for when you were in opposition. That is what the SLPP has been challenging the previous administration about. That consultation should not only be limited to sending letters. It should mean meeting with the president on the appointment he wants to do.
Rightly so. That is what we have been calling for. That is what they are calling for, which brings to bear the fact that the word consultation in the Constitution is ambiguous. And until we approach the Supreme Court to clarify it, it remains ambiguous. Every day, myself and my brother, we come here, we were not consulted, we were consulted, we were not consulted. And the issue for which they complain and for which people are nominated to Parliament for approval remains sensitive. So it's good yesterday the Speaker of Parliament called upon Sierra Leoneans to approach the Supreme Court because the Constitution says if any Sierra Leonean thinks there's an issue that needs clarification or there's an issue that has to do with the abuse of another person's own rights, you have the right or duty, your civic duty to approach the Supreme Court for clarification. Sitting here and discussing this issue is never going to lay it to rest.
Yeah, but what we want to understand is, earlier when you started, you mentioned clearly how President Bill is a specter for processes and procedures,
yes,
and the law as well.
Yes.
And Fabian asked you a question about the credibility of NEC, a very serious and important institution in situations like this, where in 3 occasions the opposition are saying they have questions about people who are appointed in this position. For best practice, and this is the new direction, you promise to do things differently, could it have been better if they were called, as they did with Edmond Alpha, as he mentioned, and the other commissioner, consulted and had a discussion with the president?
Well, like I said, they are casting aspersions, but like if you go to Parliament, we don't have SLPP Parliament, neither do we have APC Parliament, we have the Parliament of Sierra Leone. And the Parliament has laid down procedures for things to happen. Let's say the Committee of Appointment, there is a quorum. If you don't have a quorum and you go ahead and approve somebody from that committee, it's a nullity. In Parliament, there is a quorum. For as long as you have a quorum and then you sit and deliberate and take a decision on an issue or pass a legislation, that legislation is legal. So, I mean, what is happening, what has happened in all of the cases, not that any of those appointees have been appointed or approved the wrong way. They've been appointed and approved the right way by the institution that ought to appoint them.
It's legal.
It's legal. So to say we are casting aspersion, what are you casting aspersion on? When the appointment was formal, was legal, the approval was legal. Nothing legal has happened to them. You are saying not that they do not have the capability or capacity to discharge their function. They have not come, you've not said, oh, one is a criminal, and because it's a criminal constitutionally, he is not qualified, or the other one is a murderer. I mean, by constitutional provisions, they make the provision stricto sensu.
Okay.
All what you guys
and that shouldn't stop their approval.
No, that shouldn't stop their approval. If they had come to say, like this last nominee, to say, well, I mean, he's a convict. Here is the court order. And the Constitution says, so long as you are a convict, you are not qualified. And if Parliament had gone ahead to approve such a person, then it would have amounted to a nullity. I would not have even been here. I mean, I'm somebody who uphold the highest level of integrity. But they are not complaining that. They are not saying academically or professionally this person is not qualified. This person had been in that institution. He himself has conceded to that. They are merely saying the methodology used in consulting political parties is something they do not agree with. And this methodology is not laid down bare in the methodology is not laid down bare in the Constitution.
It's ambiguous.
It's ambiguous.
Okay.
That is why the Speaker is saying, if anybody feels very strongly about this issue, let's approach the Supreme Court, which is the only court in the land that has the jurisdiction over interpreting the Constitution.
But Honorable Gevao, being that provision, being it as ambiguous as you say it is, there are still instances where the whole process has gone on smoothly, where opposition and ruling government seek to agree on certain nominees. So why not have that system be consistent?
Well, for what he's saying, I honestly, I'm not seized of those facts. All the times that I had come here with my brother, all the times that I had been in Parliament vis-a-vis appointments of electoral commissioners, it has always been contentious, them complaining about consultation. I mean, to the best of my knowledge. And like my brother said, even in the days of the past government, there had always been complaint of consultation. So, meaning, then they got it wrong. Now, if they say we are getting it wrong, there is an issue of ambiguity. To the best of my knowledge, I am not seized of.
Honorable Gevao, in all honesty, is it an issue of ambiguity or dishonesty on the part of government officials? And when I say this, it stems back to in the previous administration, when the SLPP was opposition, it was not a problem of ambiguity. They knew the problems, that it was wrong. And the APC that was governing then saw it as ambiguity issue. Now we're fast forward to where we are. APC is in opposition, it's still wrong. And then the SLPP now in governance, it's ambiguity. Is this really a problem of ambiguity or just dishonesty on the part of both the SLPP and the APC?
I cannot say then they were dishonest, neither will I say now there is dishonesty element. I will only say we are all crying over methodology.
And working with convenience. What's most convenient?
Not working with, working with what we think is most appropriate for all to be informed as far as the issue is concerned. Like on this occasion, the president chose to write letters to all political party leaders, send it via PPRC, which is the regulatory body of all political party leaders, to say, let these letters get to them. And no other political party leader is saying we didn't get it, but the APC, who are saying we got it, but we got it on the eve of the approval. So I would say again, it's a method, or it's a matter of them complaining over methodology. Not that the president blatantly decided not to talk to anybody, not to inform anybody. He decided to consult them via writing a letter. And he did that one. Thereafter, he appointed, and thereafter the person came for approval, which tells you he had complied stricto sensu with the provisions of Section 32.3.
I know you want to make a submission to respond to what he's saying. Just hold your thought a minute. I want to go to you, Melvin. As they say this, it brings to mind, as a media person, the need for us to begin to, archive some of these conversations, because in opposition, they see the problems. While in office, they don't see the problems. They need to archive these conversations. So for a time when, the table is turned and then the shoe doesn't fit well, we bring about these conversations to remind them of, like for now, Honorable Gevao is giving this explanation, the justification. Imagine, we all know how it is right now in Sierra Leone, it's either APC or SLPP. Imagine such a time when it would probably be APC in governance, and then they're doing the same thing and they complain. We play the footage for them to say, this was the justification then. Or like, he's complaining now from the APC of footage when they were justifying what they did, something very similar, to show them that this was your justification then. Does it work now? As a media person, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, because I'm as confused and disgusted as I can.
Well, we don't need to be confused. We just need to be guided. And for some of us as political commentators, we go back to the manifesto promises. Fabian, I will tell you, this is a missed opportunity. Mind you, the constitutional review process is still ongoing. And just to bring you up to speed, if you read page 18, section 32, subsection 3, firstly, was not recommended for a review and is still sustained by a government that promised a new direction and a reviewing of some of these bad laws that it used to criticize. So for me, it means that the question of political sincerity, like you're asking, comes into play, but more so, political responsibility. If you've promised that and you are not doing it, it shows something else. And there's another point also, Phoebe, and let me just establish, is the fact that I've been hearing lawmakers, and today my most respected lawyer, Honorable Gevao, and yesterday it was Honorable Solomon Sengepo Thomas, saying that based on this continued arguments of ambiguity, for me, Fabian, like I said, it's not about ambiguity at all. If you go and read, there's a legal catch. Thankfully, we have Honorable Gevao. If you read 1771, subsection 14, it talks about this issue in detail. And the last part of it, it says the decision or the outcomes of those things cannot be inquired into the courts. If you permit me, I can read it for you, please.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's all right. It's on page 74 of the Constitution, and 171 subsection 14 reads, where under any provision of this Constitution, any person or authority authorized or required to exercise any function after consultation with some other person or authority, the person or authority shall not be required to act in accordance with the advice of the other person or authority, and the question whether such consultation was made shall not be inquired into in any court. So I am doubting what would be the primacy for this matter to be taken to the Supreme Court. And yesterday there was an interesting twist wherein the Speaker said, take the matter to the Supreme Court, which has always been his argument. But the opposition leader was making a technical point that who should take this matter to the Supreme Court? Should it be the Parliament? Should it be the government? Or should it be the opposition? And if we come to talk about the judiciary, with no disrespect, we know it's clogged with several matters that are having political orientation. So for me, the Constitution is somehow very clear on some of the provisions. But when we talk about that 32.3, I think the SLPP has got an onus to make some review. Unfortunately, the CRC is not capturing that.
Okay, let's come over to Honorable Abdul Kalpo.
Yes,
what we're discussing now seems to be what has been precedent, the back and forth about appointments of commissioners of NEC and engagement. The interpretation seems, favorable when one is in power and another way when one is in opposition. Is it that you've set a precedent that the ruling party is using against you now?
I want to make this correction, and I am very authoritative and assertive, and I want you to do your investigation. Former President Koroma never appointed any commissioner without inviting the political parties at State House.
Okay.
It never happened during the 10 years of APC in governance. It never happened. You see, these are some of the wrong information they pass to substantiate the illegality that they are doing. Yeah, and let me make also this correction. Honorable Gevao said that it was only the APC that said they didn't receive any correspondence from PPRC. Yeah, it wasn't only the APC. In fact, the member of parliament from Kono, the C4C member of parliament, was also saying that they were not consulted as a political party. And let me tell you what they did, what they did that surprised me the most, yeah? They only, in fact, you know the clause in the Constitution which says the appointment should be done after consultation. Now the appointment was done, and the nominee went to Parliament to face the Committee on Appointment. The opposition members in the Committee on Appointment refrained from participating because of the fact that they were not consulted. And let me tell you what they did. It was after they refrained from participating at the committee stage, that was when PPRC called the Secretary General of APC to inform him that they have a letter for APC. And
I want to take you back. This has been the case of consultation. I can recall, I was a COB reporter when John Benjamin challenged the APC on several occasions on appointments of commissioners, even with the reappointment of Christian Atop. And it was after their challenge and what happened in Parliament that the president had to call for a meeting. So I'm saying this is the same thing.
No, I am saying there is not one commissioner that was appointed by the president that all political parties were not called at State House.
You just gave about consultation and that you gave earlier when the president had to call back, political party leaders on the appointment of Edmond Alpha. It's the same scenario about the ambiguity of the consultation.
No.
And
you see, Lamana, let me make this.
So the
no.
SLPP, but we need to make it clear.
Yes.
The SLPP several times challenged the APC on consultation of commission.
No, let me make this point clear. The problem we are having is not the definition of consultation. We are saying no form of consultation was done. Not a single form of consultation. That is what he's saying. That is what he's saying. I am now referring to the letter. Let me go properly to the letter. Yeah, this letter was not a letter meant for consultation. Let me read the content of the letter. The letter says it has pleased the president to appoint so and so to be the commissioner for the North. You understand? It was an appointment letter sent to PPRC. You understand? And the Constitution is clear that before it pleases the president to make the appointment, consultation should have been done. That is why the Constitution says the president must make the appointment after consultation. If consultation was adhered to, all the political party leaders would know the nominee before he is appointed by the president, because consultations were expected to be done before appointment. But that is not the issue. Let us look again what they did. They did not, even PPRC did not inform any political party, including our own political party, including NGC that is in parliament, including C4C that is in parliament.
The C4C man who was at the appointment hearing said they are well fit, they are consulted, and they went ahead and they were part of it.
No, let me tell you what happened. After APC refrained from participating at the committee stage, that was when the PPRC boss called the Secretary General. That was the 11th. That was the 12th. No, I'm coming. Yes, that was the 12th. The 12th. They called the Secretary General on the 11th that they have a letter for him. And when they went to collect the letter, it was the PPRC telling the Secretary, letter from the president to PPRC, telling the Secretary General that this is the appointment, this is the appointment. So I will tell you authoritatively that that letter never existed before APC refrained from participating at the committee stage. Because if the letter existed, in fact, letters are not collected, they are delivered. That letter should have been delivered.
At that committee stage, there are other political parties that participated in the process.
They participated. Maybe
Which means they must have been
no, it does not necessarily mean so. We don't have control over every political party. They may participate, but I had Honorable Sir Charles clearly on the debate, you can play it, when he said they were not consulted before the decisions were taken. You understand?
Not representing the PPR, his party at the appointments committee.
No, he's not at the appointment committee. But again, let me tell you, PPRC should have been able to come with proof that they had delivered that letter. In fact, the letter was dated 10th March.
Okay.
And the letter was collected on the 11th April. You understand? So a letter which was dated 10th March was never delivered to APC. You understand? PPRC only called after we had refrained from participating in the committee stage. That was when they called and they delivered. We collected the letter, and the letter says it was 10th March. So we are of the opinion that that letter was written and backdated to let it look as if they wrote it on the 10th March. And let me tell you, that letter is not even a letter of consultation. It's a letter of appointment, because on the letter it says it has pleased the president.
Informing the party about
the appointment.
As how it's usually done.
No, that is not how it's usually done.
Okay.
How it should be done is that before the appointment comes out, the president should engage leaders of political party as stated in subsection 3 of section 32.
Before the engagements, no?
They send letter to invite you to State House for a meeting.
Okay.
You understand? And on that meeting, they will disclose.
Time is closing on us, but I want to ask, Honorable Gevao, is this something that we should expect to see happening, especially when the SLPP, the leadership in Parliament believes the section in the Act is ambiguous and it's not well defined?
Damana, thank you very much. I want to lay certain facts bare.
Okay, go ahead.
One, my colleague has not denied the fact that letters were written, albeit the content of the letter is what he's challenging. I want to invite him to go back to the APC days to see whether the setting and content of that letter to political parties is not the same. You see, in certain professions, there are certain things we call precedent. This constitution is not saying the president shall state his intention. The constitution is saying the president shall appoint an electoral commissioner after consultation. And one thing he has failed to tell this body is the fact that the letter was dated on the 10th and the nominee was actually appointed on the 14th, which means the letter to political parties precedes the letter informing.
As prescribed for.
Yes.
That letter was backdated.
Okay.
I mean, that is what I am saying. You see, when an institution is disingenuous, they always accuse other people of disingenuity. I mean, that is just it. They are being very disingenuous as far as these issues are concerned. Letters are written, they receive it, they deny to say they did not receive it. All because they are already apprehensive and they want to cast aspersion on the integrity of an institution that is going to run election because they know that election is going to go against them. I mean, that is exactly what they are doing. The president wrote a letter on the 10th. The nominee was appointed on the 14th. The nominee came for approval, and all other political parties have received theirs, but then Honorable Sir Charles, for heaven's sake, is not a head of C4C. The Constitution states categorically say heads of political parties. I am a member of SLPP, but I'm not the head of SLPP. Okay. So if the leader of SLPP is consulted and the chairman is consulted, but I am not informed, I cannot challenge that methodology of consultation.
Finally, Honorable, until that ambiguity is explained, should we expect same to continue, or such confusion within appointment of commissioners to continue?
I want to assure the Sierra Leoneans that His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, is one president that this country has got that adhere to the strict tenets of the provisions of this constitution. At every given point in time, wherein he is called upon to enforce any provision of this constitution in his office as president, he will apply stricto sensu the provision of the content of that provision. He has not missed in doing that at any point in time, and he will always continue to do that. If they continue to be disingenuous, then you continue to see arguments like this.
Thank you very much, Honorable Givao. Finally, Honorable Abdul, on this issue and other issues, should we expect the opposition to be making their position known in this way rather than engaging or consulting further? Because, like Phoebe asked earlier, the legitimacy of NEC is very important as we're moving to elections. Situations like this questions their legitimacy and credibility as well.
And Lamrana, it is simple and easy. A nominee from the president was sent to Parliament for approval for the position of commissioner. Parliament did not approve the nominee contingent on the fact that Parliament opposed that, subsection 3 of section 32 is abrogated. Consultations were not made. What did the president do? The president recalled all leaders of political parties to State House. To State House. They held a meeting. You understand? And it was after that meeting, that we were called in Parliament. No, Mr. Givao, Honorable Givao, you even don't know. You even don't know. It's disappointing. Anyway, allow me to end my statement, please. He even he even doesn't know what happened in his own government. That shows that he's not paying attention. Now let me land. Let me land. I will assure you, if the president calls against political parties leader to State House, as he did in the case of Commissioner Edmond Alpha, who is now a commissioner with dignity because he was, approved by the different sides of the aisle in Parliament, you understand? If the president calls again leaders of political parties to State House and consult with them, I will assure you, the approval of this commissioner will be as simple as drinking water.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abdulkabo. Melvin, quickly, I want to ask you this. We see the opposition APC, they are not walking out of Parliament again. They seems like they're abstaining on certain processes that they do not want to be part of or they have issues with. Is that a new trend that is surprising, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's a moderation of the walkouts and the boycotts, but the fundamental question will remain what results it yield. And generally, well, for me it's technical a bit. If you are abstaining and you are wrapping up the same debate, it means you participated, although when it comes to the collection of the votes, the answers would have it that the voices were not heard from on the other hand. So it's not an explicit position rather. And let me just wrap up quickly. I think generally, it will be seen as unfair, but the main opposition has got so many serious issues to deal with, especially with NEC. For example, the issue with regards to that of where should the data be called on voter registration and things like that, boundary delimitation and all of that. So looking at that issue, though it's important, because it has to do with the capacity and independence of NEC, I think there are bigger, more elephants in the room to focus on and address rather than this perennial problem of what consultation is or not.
Thank you very much, Melvin, for being a part of the program. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time to be a part of it. This is what would end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. The program returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Thanks to all our guests and all of you, our listeners and viewers, for being a part of the program this morning.
Many thanks to our guests who've joined us, our viewers. Very sorry we can't read all of the messages on the second segment, a lot of them on our Facebook page. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to our sponsors, Walkout Commercial Bank and Chicken Town, for their support to the program. Our quote for today says, the concept of preventive diplomacy is key, but its success depends on timely action, on fully understanding the context, effective consultation, and collaboration with key actors. These are essential for early warning mechanism to positively impact conflict prevention, and it comes from former President Dr. Anes Baikoma. We've been your presenters. I am Amadou Lamwanaba. Have a lovely day.
And I am Phoebe Nswil. Stay safe. Cheers.